is WNBC for New York. And now, this is News for New York.
Good evening. I'm Ralph Penza with Carol Jenkins. The hijacking of a Russian jetliner by a man who wanted to come to New York, well, that has ended now with no injuries.
Well, apparently even his wife accompanying him on this wild odyssey with their baby son had no idea what he was up to, that her husband would threaten to blow up a Russian airliner unless he was flown to the United States. As he paced the aisles with a hand grenade in each hand, the plane made its way from Tyumen, Siberia to Tallinn, the capital of Estonia, and then on to Stockholm, Sweden, where he was persuaded to give up. The twin-engine Aeroflot plane arrived first in Estonia for refueling. It carried 72 people, and for hours, officials talked with the hijacker. He is said to be an ethnic Azerbaijani. Finally, nearly 30 passengers were released, including 3 Americans.
Before I left, I was the last man to leave the plane. I stopped and talked to him again. And I give him my calling card. And I said, look, if you surrender to Americans, here's my card, mention it to them, and I'll testify in your behalf that you behave correctly, that you did not harm anyone, that you did release Americans, and that you released the children. And he said, I don't know, I think I'll die anyhow. And he said, put it in my pocket, because he was holding grenades in both hands.
Well, the plane then continued its 3-country odyssey, taking off for Stockholm. Hours of negotiations took place there as the remaining passengers waited in fear. Now, this was the 3rd hijacking in 10 days, and all have ended safely. Ralph?
It is day number 3 for the jury deciding the fate of the doctor the headlines called the Butcher of Avenue A, Abu Hayat, charged with illegal and horrifying abortions. Kevin Rosen is at the courthouse in Lower Manhattan for this live report. Kevin?
You know, Ralph, at the beginning of deliberations, it was the general consensus of courtroom observers that this would be a rather quick deliberation. Well, another reason why I gave up predicting juries a long time ago. We have now almost completed our 3rd day of deliberations, and we still have no verdict. For the past 3 days, it has been readback after readback of testimony. This jury is obviously meticulously sifting through the 11 charges against Dr. Abu Hayat, the most serious being assault and performing illegal abortions. The charges are tied to the cases of 22-year-old Rosa Rodriguez and 40-year-old Marie Moise. Both witnesses testified in this case. Moise, who did not want to be seen on camera, spoke Creole through an interpreter. Dr. Hayat allegedly kicked her out of his office in the middle of an abortion when her husband said he could not pay Hayat the $500 he demanded in addition to the $300 he had already paid. Hayat is also charged with trying to perform an abortion on Rosa Rodriguez when she was nearly 8 months pregnant. He is charged with assaulting Rodriguez and her daughter, Ana Rosa, who was born with her right arm gone, ripped off during the abortion attempt. Hayat's lawyer, Ronald Veneziano, made no opening statement, called no witnesses, and refused to say what the doctor's defense was. But in his summation, Veneziano accused Jamaica hospital doctors of severing Ana Rosa Rodriguez's arm at birth and then engaging in a cover-up. Today, Judge Jeffrey Atlas again explained the charge of assault this way.
Recklessly caused serious physical injury to Rosa Rodriguez by means of a dangerous instrument.
Now, it is the prosecution's contention that Rosa Rodriguez's complications at the birth of her daughter, Ana Rosa, were the result of that botched abortion. It is one of 6 assault charges in this case and 6 of 11 charges. Ralph and Carol, I talked to defense counsel Ronald Veneziano and asked him whether he thought the long deliberations were a good sign or a bad sign. And he said it is a clear indication that this jury is carefully applying the law in the case. And that can only mean good things for everyone involved. Back to you.
All right, Kevin, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Well, police officers in Boston tonight are mourning the loss of one of their own. He was overcome and killed by a prisoner under his escort. The prisoner, who was serving time for manslaughter already, was being transferred. It happened in the downtown station house. The prisoner got hold of the officer's gun, shooting him dead.
That prisoner tried to flee, escape. As a result of that, the police officer pursued him quickly, and a struggle ensued. As a result of that struggle, we now have a Boston police officer who has been shot twice.
Officer Thomas Rose was a 10-year veteran of the force.
To other developments now. Good times at a Long Island VFW club turned deadly in the early hours of the morning. Shooting erupted during a birthday celebration. A pregnant woman, 24-year-old Sandra Russell of Medford, was apparently an unintended victim. She had fled to the bathroom to avoid the gunfire. She was killed when a bullet went through the wall, hitting her in the head. Also wounded was 25-year-old Charles Rich of Sayville.
At this time, the investigation is just in an early stage. We don't know yet the cause of the shooting or what precipitated it.
And no arrests so far. Meanwhile, tonight, that wounded man, Charles Rich, in critical condition at Stony Brook Hospital last we checked.
Well, Bensonhurst residents were steaming today over the city's plans to reopen an incinerator in their neighborhood, so they took to the streets, blocking traffic with a 100-car motorcade. Julian Phillips was in the middle of it and filed this report.
It was not a funeral procession to a cemetery, but a solemn motorcade to the closed Southwest Incinerator on Shore Parkway in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. Drivers donned surgical masks to dramatize toxic emissions they say are sure to descend on the surrounding areas if this incinerator is reopened by the city.
We don't want to be poisoned by Mayor Jenkins. If he's going to not come to Bensonhurst, we'll bring this 100-car motorcade to Gracie Mansion and pollute his air like he wants to pollute our air.
Was the incinerator the cause of health problems when it was open? These kids believe so.
I couldn't breathe a lot. Sometimes I just stop breathing.
I can't breathe and I get allergies and all that. And my sisters, they can't breathe a lot. It's hard. It makes me cough too much.
Some experts say when this incinerator was in full operation, it had the capacity to burn nearly 1,400 tons of garbage without pollution controls. And they say it was shut down in 1991 for those reasons. And many people here are not satisfied the city can reopen this place without jeopardizing the health of hundreds of thousands of people.
They are deathly afraid to do an environmental impact statement because they know that that statement will show that they have no business reopening this incinerator.
New York recycles about 5% of its garbage. Other cities recycle 7-8 times that. We're way behind. And once you start on an incineration program, you're never going to have an effective recycling program.
A number of politicians are calling Brooklyn the borough of incinerators, with the city's plans to also build one in the Brooklyn Navy Yard that has come under opposition. Residents here are urging people to attend hearings in March set up by the city to speak out against the proposed reopening. Julian Phillips, News 4, Brooklyn.
Well, the city had no response to today's protest, but has scheduled hearings on the incinerator for March 2nd and 3rd.
And we do have more for you tonight. Another rally brings bitter feelings in a posh Fifth Avenue address. The owner of the Daily News, the target, will tell you why next on News 4. Also ahead, kids with questions, lots of them, give President Clinton an earful at the White House. Waterlogged Californians look for relief in the wake of a devastating winter storm. And Ira Joe, in a stormy mood or not?
Well, we will awake to a winter storm tomorrow, or at least in the middle of the day, Ralph. Yep, today is wonderful. Tomorrow is not. Stay tuned for a forecast that you need to know about coming up on News 4 New York. Next.
Well, they called it brunch at Mortimer's. It was a rally to protest layoffs at the Daily News. The scene, the Fifth Avenue home of News owner Mort Zuckerman.
No justice!
No peace!
No justice! No peace!
Some 30 fired workers and their supporters urging reinstatement of 182 news employees that Zuckerman fired last month, but the publisher, well, he was nowhere in sight. You know, he also owns U.S. News and World Report. He took over the bankrupt Daily News last month, as you likely know. He said the dismissals were for economy reasons. Now, this week, Zuckerman settled a suit with the New York Post for the way he hired away its top editors and all its columnists, or most of them. Meanwhile, the Post is a step closer to having a controversial new owner, Stephen Hoffenberg. A bankruptcy judge yesterday approved the sale, and he was cool to a counteroffer from a Texas oil man. Hoffenberg, though, faces a Securities and Exchange Commission fraud case, and that involves his bill collection empire. And that still must get another federal judge's okay.
Well, this week it seemed as though President Clinton was trying to outdo former President Reagan as the great communicator. He was on television nearly every day speaking to the people, the Congress, and today to the kids. 40 youngsters questioned the president in the East Room of the White House for 2 hours on television.
Back in Little Rock, Arkansas, if you were in the same position that you are now, and during the time of the occurrence of the Little Rock 9, how would you take forth the matters about them going into the school?
I would have done what President Eisenhower did. I would have sent troops there and done whatever it took to give the children the right to go to school.
Is Chelsea single?
Well, Chelsea Clinton
She better be.
joined her father on the program, answering some pointed questions the kids had for her. Vice President Al Gore did the jogging for the administration this morning as he headed south to talk up the president's economic plan. In Tampa, Gore got more exercise. He visited a neighborhood where the city and nonprofit organizations underwrite housing renovations. Good to know he can swing an axe there.
Yes.
The vice president will continue his work in the southeast, while President Clinton tomorrow heads for the West Coast with visits to California and Washington.
And in still another way, the Clinton administration has taken its act on the road with Secretary of State Warren Christopher on a mission of peace in the Mideast. Now, Christopher is in Amman, Jordan, for talks with King Hussein. The talks are described as wide-ranging, but no significant progress is reported to us so far. Christopher did say all countries in the region are committed to returning to the negotiating table. And later, Christopher headed to Damascus for talks with Syrian President Hafez Assad.
Well, people in Southern California are asking, where's the sun? Up next on News 4, digging out and drying out from the devastating effects of a winter washout. And are we in for some stormy weather ourselves? Ira Joe has the answer when we come back.
Probably make over 70,000 shifts a year. Sooner or later, you'll experience some kind of problem.
That it was a winter washout in normally sunny Southern California. That's where the weather is bombing at the box office. Torrential rainstorms have battered Los Angeles and the area south, and that's where already 6 deaths are blamed on that storm. And it's slippery going everywhere, as you might expect. Governor Pete Wilson has declared a state of emergency in Los Angeles County, so they've got their problems. In some places, cars are buried in mud up to their rooftops. Will you look at that? A break in the weather today, however, it did give some residents a chance to go out and survey the damage. They probably wish they just didn't go out at all.
I know, and Ira is telling us that we may be wishing the same thing tomorrow.
Well, certainly not that severe. And by the way, as the rain moves farther inland into the Sierra Nevadas and the Rockies, it's spread as much as 17 inches of snow. My goodness. It's a stormy weekend all across the nation, except in our part of it. However, we'll get our storm tomorrow. In fact, there's a winter storm watch in effect. We'll detail the areas here in just a second. But let's look outside. The conditions at the moment belie what it will be tomorrow. And, oh, look, there's a lot of folks heading north now for the summer. But that's another story. Current temperature, chilly, 29 degrees. Better, though, than the overnight low of 17, I guess. Partly cloudy is the sky. Wind from the northwest at 7 miles an hour. The relative humidity is 51%, and our barometer's rising, 30.04 inches. I want to apologize, too, for the satellite picture we're about to see here. For some reason, it gets real blue here for a second. I guess it must be sad. I don't know what else to say about it. Anyway, the deal is this. Here's the part of the storm system that's moving into our area. It began the day in Arizona. By this time tomorrow, it's expected to be over Illinois. It's a fast-moving storm, lots of clouds, and out of these clouds, initially, we're going to see some snowfall. Now, earlier estimates had it along the coast anywhere from 2 to 4 inches, inland maybe 3 to 5 inches, but as has happened with the last couple of storms, it's expected ultimately to change over to sleet and freezing rain for a period and then become just plain rain. And of course, farther inland, it will take longer for it to do that. And it's just going to be one of those pesky, potentially dangerous storms. Right now, we have temperatures in the 20s and 30s. Central Park high, 33. Overnight low, 17 degrees, and colder than that around our area. Tonight, we're going to see what clear skies we have at the moment. We'll see clouds increase in them, variable winds at 5 to 10 miles an hour, and temperatures will slide back into the teens and 20s, but in the traditionally colder places, northwestern New Jersey and southeastern New York State and interior Connecticut, yeah, could see some single-digit temperatures going to be cold. In the morning, there'll be plenty of clouds, maybe already sputtering and spitting some snow. Not a great amount yet early in the morning. 6:42, the sun will rise. Temperatures still teens and 20s. A shift in the winds from the east at 5 to 10 miles an hour. Probably late morning or middle of the day is when the snow will get falling in earnest. And there is a winter storm watch in effect, northwestern New Jersey, southeastern New York State, and interior Connecticut tomorrow and tomorrow night. Starting as snow, turning to mixing with sleet and freezing rain before it is hoped by tomorrow night becoming just plain rain. And in case you want to know, it seems kind of dorky compared to the other things we've been talking about. The sun will set tomorrow evening at 5:38. but we won't be able to see it happen because it'll be so darn cloudy out there. Here is your forecast for the next 5 days. That winter storm watch in effect tomorrow and tomorrow night. Southeastern New York, northwestern New Jersey, and interior Connecticut. High 32. Snow is expected, and Monday will be breezy and cloudy, and looks like more snow comes back Tuesday and a chance of flurries on Wednesday. We'll have more for you, of course, at 11 o'clock. Stay tuned.
Part of that bears repeating, I think. This winter storm watch begins at what time?
Well, it's for no specific hour. It's tomorrow into tomorrow night, because you can't pinpoint exactly when the precipitation will begin. Suffice it to say, it's going to be dangerous throughout the entire period, probably by late morning through the night.
Good. You'll update again at 11.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Sure.
And still coming up on News 4 tonight, sports history on the auction block. Rare collectibles attached to such names as Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig and Pete Rose. And the Islanders honor a hero from their glorious past. Sal, with all the Saturday sports, we've got more for you. Stay with us.
With Mario Perillo, Mr. Italy, and Alitalia, you don't have to wait for an anniversary to fall in love again in Italy. Just go Perillo. How many times have you promised yourself to share the romance of Italy with the one you love? And how many times have you put it off? Make this the year you strike the match and light that Roman candle. For a free Perillo brochure, see your travel agent or call 1-800-255-5000 now.
What's clear? Crystal clear Amoco Ultimate. What isn't? All other premium gasolines. What's clear? Amoco Ultimate is the only premium refined and extra step to remove harmful impurities. Harmful impurities you as a premium use.
The sports now and a special hockey story. Here's Sal.
Okay, Ralph. The National Basketball Association is taking a mid-season break for its annual All-Star Game tomorrow night in Salt Lake City. So our attention this Saturday evening is focused on the other winter arena game, hockey. This afternoon, Islanders home against Pittsburgh. Vladimir Malakoff of the Islanders end-to-end before passing to Pierre Turgeon for a 1-0 lead. It was 1-up in the third when Turgeon notched his 38th for a 2-1 lead. And Turgeon popped his third of the game for a hat trick. Islanders won 4-2 to jump past the Rangers into fourth place. And tonight, the Rangers skate in San Jose. Local college hoops, Fordham lost to Lafayette 78-74. Rutgers bombed St. Bonaventure 82-61. Siena over Manhattan 84-76. And Fairleigh Dickinson beat Wagner 75-72. Sixth-ranked Kansas defeated rival Kansas State for the 8th straight game. That's Richard Scott on the inside, leading the way with 19 points. Teammate Darren Hancock to the hoop. Kansas won at 77-64. UMass at Rhode Island. Rams ahead by 3 on that free throw. The Minutemen pushed the ball up court for a potential tying 3. Mike Williams missed badly. The rebound was blocked, and Rhode Island students celebrated stopping the 12-game winning streak of UMass final 71-68. With 10 weeks to go till the Kentucky Derby, the older horses showcased today at Gulfstream Park. The Don, a 1 1/8, decided on the final jump in the middle. The Gray, Pistols and Roses paid $91.40 to win. Irish Swap was second. Missionary Ridge on the inside was third. If you're a boxing fan, you have to throw your sombrero to the sky. Tonight in Mexico City, there are 4 championship fights on one card. The headliner, Julio Cesar Chavez, the hero of Mexico, defending his WBC Super Lightweight Championship before more than 100,000 spectators. His opponent is Greg Haugen of the U.S., who will try to hand Chavez his first defeat in 85 pro fights. Haugen is a 22-1 underdog. World heavyweight champ Riddick Bowe was in Johannesburg, South Africa today, and he met Nelson Mandela, the president of the African National Congress. Bowe made a donation of $100,000 to Mandela's ANC. Bowe plans to visit Somalia to distribute food relief supplies. Before today's Islanders game at Nassau Coliseum, Billy Smith had his number 31 raised to the rafters. The Islanders' ultimate tribute for one of their standout players who were a part of 4 consecutive Stanley Cups in the early 80s. Smith is recognized in the NHL as the best clutch goalie in history and the toughest. Smitty tended goal like a samurai warrior, loved at home, hated on the road. Opponents had to be wary of his stick.
You're going to be known forevermore as battling Billy. Does it bother you that maybe that takes more precedence over your abilities as a goaltender?
Well, like I say, there's nothing you can do about it. It's the way I played. Sometimes you get labeled, and it just doesn't go away. And it doesn't really bother me. The thing that I keep in mind is we won 4 Stanley Cups. We had a great hockey team. And like, even with the raising of my number, I know myself that, hey, I wouldn't have done it without the hockey players in front of me.
I used to tell him the day of a game when he's playing not to show up. I didn't want him around the rink. I wanted to stay home, because every time he was at the rink, it was confrontational. There was fights with the players in the dressing room. I said, stay home, just get ready. Show up at game time.
When I think of Billy Smith, I think of probably the meanest, toughest player I played against in the 80s, by far. You talk about Nick Fatile or Gary Howard or some of those other tough guys. I don't think they hold a stick to Billy Smith.
We were a great group. I mean, we were a group that stuck together. We had guys that were role players. They did their job day in and day out. You know, and our superstars came to play every night, like Boss, Trudge, Dennis. I mean, they came and they played every night, and it just makes everybody else go. And we had a great team.
Battling Billy, one of the best, back at 11 with the highlights and the lowdown.
Look forward to it. Thanks, Sal.
Thanks, Sal. Baseball fans anticipating a spring fix had no farther to go than a Midtown hotel today, where some great pieces of memorabilia went on the auction block. A Rhode Island philanthropist paid $99,000 for the 1919 contract that sent Babe Ruth from the Red Sox to the Yankees, and Boston hasn't been the same since. Also, a jersey belonging to Ruth's teammate Lou Gehrig sold for $100,000.
I have a pocket watch that once was owned by Ty Cobb, a beautiful gold pocket watch. I have Pete Rose's Rolls Royce, believe it or not. It was gotten by Carolyn Rose, Pete's ex-wife, in the divorce settlement.
And sorry, Pete, that Rolls went for $44 grand. There was a uniform worn by Ted Williams and enough balls and bats for the entire family. And by the way, that philanthropist intends to resell Babe Ruth's contract and donate the proceeds to charity.
And just time enough to say, join us at 11 and again at 5 o'clock tomorrow for a special edition of News 4.
See you at 11. Have a great day.